the stuff you learn starting your own business, because you have to worry about everything. You have to worry about sales and accounting and taxes and, all of the stuff you have to do to run a business. It gives you a lot of appreciation for what everybody else does in the corporations you worked at.
Thank you for tuning in to the Sally Allen podcast, where we give voice to stories of resilience. Hey, it's Sally Allen, your host again, and we are on for an incredible episode today. And I say that because I have my two most favorite people on the podcast, and I've been trying to get them for a while now.
Which podcast is this?
Yeah.
What number is this?
I don't know what episode this is.
That's how long.
This is how it's going to go. So we're over 100 episodes. Well, one of them was okay to be here, but the other one, the two of us dragged him. We literally dragged him in here. So I don't know how this is going to go, but I want to welcome my two best guy friends. Spencer Fairbairn, he is VP of Software and Development at Every. Spencer,
Hello.
welcome.
Thank you.
And Keith Wood, he is co-founder of Nevio.
Nevio
and that's Ohio and Nevada.
My co-founder was from Nevada. I'm from Ohio. We shoved them together.
They shove them together. It's
Nevio.
very creative. Yeah, only you would do that. And Lat.
We
Of
ran
course.
out of ideas.
They ran out of
Every
ideas.
name we came up with, somebody already had.
Naming is hard, right?
Naming was really
is
hard.
super hard, yeah.
Naming is super hard. That's a good way to start this. But the reason I wanted to have them on the podcast is because I've known you guys for 14 years almost. That's how long I've been here. Well, you as long as I started with you. So, yeah. And their career trajectory took different directions, but they're both successful. And it's to say that it doesn't matter what direction we go, that we can start our own business and be successful, or we can go whatever way. And as long as we have a heart and we're transparent leaders, that we will be successful. And I feel like they're both transparent leaders. So we welcome them. And
I think that's how this podcast is going to go, just in different directions.
yeah.
Yeah, because I already had a problem with one of the things you said.
He has a problem.
Best guy friends, not just your best friends.
Oh, that's really boom. Mic drop. Oh, you got me there. Like, I didn't even think about that. I have best girlfriends too. So
It's okay.
yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
I've seen the pictures. Everyone looks super nice.
Yeah.
They look great.
But they're definitely not better now.
No. Well, listen, I don't think I've sang with anybody what did we sing? Happy? Was it Happy? That summer when we were singing all summer when we went to lunch, Spencer.
Oh.
Whatever movie Spencer kids were up to, those were the songs we were singing back and forth.
That's right. Because when we met, my daughter was 5.
Yes.
I had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. Just one.
Yeah, and how old is your daughter now?
She's 19. She's at UNR. Yep.
Yes, it's been that long. But we were in that era where I think the Lego movie was out, and then we were singing the Lego song. And then
Everything is awesome.
Everything
by
is
the way.
awesome.
Yeah, it
yes,
is, yeah.
see, those are the songs we were always singing songs back and forth to lunch. But we became really good friends, and they became my best allies. Like, what do you call it, Mally?
I think you called us Malais. Started making up words.
Stuck. And I was trying to tell them that we'll talk about them being my allies, and I ended up saying Malais. So Spencer took that and he ran with it. But
I did not know what you were talking about, to be clear.
he said, "What's a Mally?"
Is that manly? What is that?
But so when we met, we were at a gaming technology company. I started working for Keith. We worked together for a couple of years, and Spence, we met somewhere along the way.
Yep. The same office.
Same office, same thing.
Yeah.
Keith was a very difficult boss. Just kidding.
I think it might have been the other way around. Who was difficult?
No, he was great. I learned a lot from him. But one of the things we learned as we worked together is what type of leader you are and how employees can complement those leaders, right? Because there were times when I blocked the door when you tried to run out the door to go at your employees.
Yes. No. You definitely did compliment me in being very organized, which sometimes I'm not. Right?
Yeah.
And then I get very focused on goals and maybe not so focused on people. And you would always say, like, take a breather, do that. So it was good.
It was good. And
But to sum up our relationship, I remember one conversation we had at the beginning. Do you remember this one?
which one?
So I was single guy, didn't have family, didn't do anything. And it was maybe about a month after you started.
Yeah, this
And
can
we
be
had
good.
employees in 2 different buildings. And I hadn't seen my employees in the other building, and I had a break between meetings, so I just zoomed over there in the car. Was sitting there. I come back, and Sally's frantic. Where have you been? What are you doing? And I was like, I was just over visiting the other group, right? And she's like, your boss just called, and I didn't know where you were at, and that's not acceptable. And she's like, I have to know.
Smackdown
where
Sally.
Yeah, I have to know exactly where you're at every minute. And how did I
Does
answer
she
that
have you on Fine Friends still?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's like, he was shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't think anybody talks to you like that anyway.
I didn't have a wife. I didn't have family. I didn't have anybody where I needed to tell everybody where I was
Yeah.
at. I was used to living single.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
my answer was, I don't think I can do that. Like, I was being honest.
Yeah, and I'm like, you tell me as much as you can where you're at so that I can support you effectively.
Sure.
And that's what you do. And he listened.
And you did, right?
He did.
No, you
did.
supported him effectively.
Effectively.
No, and I did.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what we're talking about. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you two here, because of your leadership styles, right? Keith was open to listen. That's the type of person he is. That's the type of leader that you have always been, and how you've led your people. That you can be stubborn,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but you take stuff back and you process it, and then you bring it back, and you're like, okay, and you're not afraid to apologize, and you're not afraid to say that, I was wrong at that time, and you're not afraid to lead your people that way. So many times we see leaders who can't do that,
Sure. Yeah.
right? And that's part of being vulnerable, that they're afraid to be vulnerable. Spencer, you do that really well.
Be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Great.
I was thinking it was the apologize.
The apologize. No, look,
Yeah.
For me, they sort of say servant leader, right? But there are some things that have to be the way I want them to be.
Yeah.
There are some things that sort of non-negotiables, if you like, about how we do business. And there's the other things where I have to lean on the organization, right? The people that work for me, next to me, above me, to give me that feedback, to help us, and being able to sort of, you can't always build perfect architecture. Sometimes
Right.
you have to get a product out the door, right? In fact, you always have to get a product out the door. So finding those balances with your people, with the way you lead, the way you think, that's super important.
Yeah. What do you think is the most difficult aspect, though, when it comes to leading people?
The most difficult thing is checking yourself, right? Because sometimes somebody could come to you with something that is not in your field of vision right now. And by that, I mean, is the same thing Keith was saying. You're very focused in a leadership role on what you have to deliver. You have to deliver value for your business. And that tends to be a very focused goal. And so if somebody comes to you with something out of left wing that you kind of might not care about that much right now,
Right.
That's the hardest thing, because you have to set, for the moment, just for a few moments, it's all important, the things that your mind is so honed in on right now
Right.
aside, and listen to what they have to say about, I don't know what the great grandmother's pet dog or whatever it is. But that can be, and it's not that extreme. It can be
Right.
it can be quite a regular day-to-day things. And to Keith's point, to your point, when you're so focused, somebody also has to tap you on the shoulder. And it actually just happened yesterday. Somebody said, "Can we do a team lunch?"
And you're like,
Because-
what? We got work to do.
Well, no, I want to do a team lunch. And my response was, "Can you organize it? Can you organize it? We'll get together." Yes, I love the idea. But I often am guilty of not taking that moment to think, oh, we should do a team lunch.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And so those are the hardest things, I think, is going from that severe focus, that drive, that when are we getting this done? When's that getting done? Who's doing that? What's going wrong here? What's going right here? To, hey, I need a moment.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. Keith, so you transition from corporate America to doing your own business. Did you feel like you waited too long, or was it the perfect time? And what did that look like?
I have
Wasn't that
mixed
corporate?
feelings on that, right?
Wasn't that corporate Australia? I'm sorry.
Well, so I would say, it was 7 years ago or so. It was easier to transition into my own business because financially I was set. So there wasn't as much fear of if I don't make money the first year, or if I don't, do that. But I wish I would have done it earlier, because it has been such a good learning experience. The stuff you learn starting your own business, because you have to worry about everything. You have to worry about sales and accounting and taxes and, all of the stuff you have to do to run a business. It gives you a lot of appreciation for what everybody else does in the corporations you worked at. And so I wish I would have had that younger, even if it failed. Just getting a business started is such a good learning experience that if I would have tried it in my 20s or 30s and it failed, it probably would have served me well for the rest of my life. But it's a lot scarier when you need that next paycheck. And so
What's
that's
the hardest piece of those items you quantified there?
For me personally, it's sales.
Sales.
I'm just not
Always
that type of
sales.
personality,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
if I was, I would have been in sales my career, right? And that's the hardest thing, is it's pushing out and doing something I don't necessarily enjoy, but you have to.
So all our friends in sales, we feel you.
Yeah.
I have a great
Yeah.
appreciation
Yeah.
for what they do, right?
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do.
But it's something you had to overcome. So how did you overcome? For someone who's listening to this, how do you overcome that?
It's, if you want to succeed, you got to do it.
You
You
just
know what I mean?
gotta go out and do
That's
it.
really what it is. You put yourself in that position to, if I don't go out and sell our company and our services and what we can do, then the business is going to go under. And if you want
Right.
to, and I enjoy having my own business, you get to choose the projects you work on, you get to choose the people you work with.
Yeah.
And, most people will understand this if you've been in corporate America. I'm maybe in 2 meetings a day instead of 10.
Yeah.
And it's a different way. It's an easier life for me in a work environment. So I look at it and go, if I want to have the things I like about it, sometimes I have to do the things I don't like about it. And that motivates me to go out and do the stuff I don't like to do.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you like about it? Like, I know time freedom. And what are some of the other things that you contrast with? Like, I'm glad I'm not doing this anymore.
Luckily with my co-founder, we have a really good relationship. We worked together for 20 some years. So there's not a lot of argument about things. We have very clear defined roles in what we do, and that goes easy. So there's a lot less politics or drama between, like, hey, I know this is what we need to get done, but I need this person, this person, this person with their help. And sometimes you can't always get those people to do that. But you don't control that. And with your own business, you kind of have a little bit more control.
Right.
So I guess the control freak side of me enjoys that, right? That there's a project and I can get most of it done with the resources we have. And what I found out, it's not easier, but it's less stressful for me, because I feel like the mistakes that are made are mine.
Right.
And they're easier to deal with. Right, and they're easier to correct than it is when you have 300 people, or and you're moving a whole ship and changing.
The other
that.
side of that, when I was doing startups, why don't I cough in the microphone? That's lovely. When I was doing the startups, one of the things I found was in a leadership role, in a CTO role, when I said we're going to do something, everyone just said, okay. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's two sides to that. One is, wow, I could really make things happen. The other one is, wow, look how much responsibility I have here now to get that done. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've told you this a couple of times. You probably don't remember, but I just love your values when it comes to being a leader, the way you lead, but also where you put your family when it comes to work.
Sure.
I've always enjoyed that. A lot of times there's a rat race, we're in this rat race where our family comes last, but I've never seen you done that. Your family has always been first.
No,
Talk
and
to me
I think
about
a
that.
lot of the people that have been on this show have had that match, right? That work-life balance match that has to happen. Look, I have a champion in my corner, or I'm in her corner. I think it might be the other way around. But Rachel, we made a decision a long time ago that I would work and she would stay home.
Yeah.
Could have gone the other way, but that was a choice we made, and that allowed, me to focus on work, to drive into that pretty hard, knowing that family life was in great shape. But at the same time, I still had to find that balance, and there's, it's a three-way balance, right? It's work, it's family, and Rachel and the children. Well, children, they're great big teenage pieces now. One of them plays rugby. And myself as well. I mean, getting the chance to work out, to do things that I also value for myself.
Yeah, that's good. Keith, what are some of the things that you brought from corporate America that you are implementing aside from the technical skills, obviously, that you brought and you're implementing? What are some of the things that you're implementing in your business that you find that's really helping you?
I think the biggest thing is just the interaction with people and clients and customers. You learn very well how to do, like, over a career, you've dealt with the angriest customers, the best customers, and all in between. It kind of gives you a good perspective on what people, like, how you can make people comfortable that you're going to do what you said you were going to do, right? And set them up for success. My business is essentially delivering products that people ask us to build.
Yeah.
But we need our customers to help us, right? And so being in the pitfalls of corporate America and knowing how many times a project's failed because of this, this, and this, you can kind of help your clients make sure their side's in order so that you can deliver good things for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the biggest thing for my business now. And also, too, I did, even though I don't like it, I have been on sales calls with salespeople, you know what I mean, over my career, and you pick up on how they do things and how negotiations go, how contracts go, all of those type of things. And so that's carried over very easily. And just in general, like, knowledge of the gaming industry is helpful.
Yeah.
It's a weird kind of incestuous industry, right? And
A little bit.
Yeah.
A lot.
But when you go to a client and you can talk their language without them having to explain anything else, it's a relief for them.
It's a relief,
right?
yeah.
Because a lot of times, when you're dealing with a vendor who doesn't, and you use a gaming term that's very common to you, you don't even realize they don't know what you're talking about. And I've been on that side. It's tough. Where, we can come in. We do have a very unique language in gaming. A lot of acronyms, a lot of other things. And so that has helped also.
Yeah. So you're both outgoing. And one of the things I coach, especially middle managers, because there are so many degrees of separation from leadership.
Kevin Bacon?
Right?
Yeah.
How many
7.
degrees? 70 degrees of separation. It was my question. Spencer distracted me. Kevin Bacon. Okay, so you're both outgoing. Keith, I know you're introvert, extrovert, but this, you are extremely extroverted, and one of the things you do really well is build networking, and talking to people. I find in the corporate space that because the more degrees of separation that an employee has from leadership, they don't take the time to go and network. That's one of the things I did really well, and I didn't know I was doing it because I like to talk a lot, like Keith does. And it has helped me, right? It helped my cause over the years.
Sure.
What would you say for employees listening to this, and how impactful has those networks that you have built has helped you? And what are some of the things, this is for both of you, have done to build those networks? I know sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone because it's very important that we do that in the workplace.
Yeah, look, I'm going to say 3 again. Let's go with 3 types of network. There's the people that you genuinely like. Right?
Yeah.
I generally like everybody, right? It's like nobody I don't like.
That you see when you're going to lunch or back from lunch, those people.
But the people like us, right? We see each other way beyond our work period together. And there's lots of people that you genuinely like, and you get to see them, and you love that. And then there's the who do I need to influence? Right? Who do I need to influence? And Joss, way back, he taught me that one, right? He took me for lunch and he said, okay, we're going to do lunches with these people. And they're just, you want to have a non-meeting meeting,
right?
Just a regular time where you're catching up, where And often those turn into real friendships because you're having regular time together, right?
Yeah.
But there's also, and I tell my leaders, my managers, who do you need to influence? Not in a weird, creepy way, but in a, we're going to build this thing. I need this from them. That has to be aligned.
Right.
Because people do have the sort of the capability to make choices one way or the other.
Yeah.
And so if they're going to make it in your direction, that helps a lot. And then, of course, there's the third one, which is a little bit harder, which is the sales networking, right? Which is that, again, it's a little bit harder where you're reaching out to people that you maybe don't know or haven't known, and you'll make it. And again, they turn into friendships. I've gone to some conferences now where I'm super excited to see these people, and we meet up at different times. But you've got those levels of the genuine friendships you make, the people that you want to or have to influence, and then those people, especially in a sales or in a broader business sense, the ones you have to meet, you have to actively go find.
Yeah.
And I agree with those three categories. The one thing I'd like to add is, so for me, when you go meet someone on their terms, right, go have a conversation with them, learn about their family, learn about their interests, learn about that, and have a personal relationship with them. It doesn't mean you have to hang outside of work or anything like that. When you develop that relationship and you make a mistake, they're much more willing to forgive you.
Yes.
Right? And everybody's going to make mistakes. So especially as middle managers, you're earlier in your career, you're going to make mistakes. But if you can develop those relationships, people are willing to forgive because they know your intentions are well.
They'll also call you
Yeah.
directly on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and tell you like, hey, you messed this up, right?
Yeah.
And those are extremely valuable relationships because you are going to make mistakes. And if you can have someone on the other side that doesn't take advantage of that mistake to try to get something they want, or genuinely reach out and say, hey, I think you were wrong, right? And give you a chance to correct that.
Yeah.
Right? Very rarely that happens if you haven't developed a relationship with the people that work with you, work for you, or work above you. And so I think it's important to do that, and don't be fake about it. Right? Like, that's the other thing. If it comes off fake, it's going to have the opposite.
No, it's got to be genuine.
It's got to be genuine, that you really want to get to know these people.
Yeah, my philosophy has always been that it's, as an employee when it's my responsibility to go out there, do the networking and educating myself. As leaders, where do you stand on that when it comes to employee taking accountability and responsibility, and how much is it when it comes to education and, helping your employees, does leaders take on?
Yeah. Look, I'm going to guide people. Right? Have you thought about growing yourself in this way? This would really help you. To Keith's point earlier, we have quite broad insight now over a long time of doing this.
Yeah.
And so I will guide. And look, there's different people. Some people will take it and they'll move themselves on and move themselves up, and others won't. And they might do a fabulous job doing what they're doing without necessarily growing beyond that, right?
Right.
But as far as self growth, you will see the people that want it.
Right.
They're the people that always say, "Hey, do you think I could participate in that with you, so I could see how you do that?"
Right.
Right. And that's getting outside their bubble just a little bit, which is great as long as they deliver on the current stuff.
So,
Well, if I could add a little bit
Yes,
to an
please.
employee kind of want to doing that, I guess my advice for that employee, if they want to do it, I'm much more willing to help someone if they're willing to help themselves.
Yes.
I've had so many times where somebody comes and says, hey, I really need some advice, or how did you learn this? And you might say, hey, this book really helped me, or talk to this person because they helped me with this. And then, you see them 3 weeks later and they haven't done anything. And it's hard for you to take time out of your schedule to help someone if they're not willing to put in the effort. But if they are, it's always the people that come back and said, I read that book, whether they liked it or not, or, I talked to that person, thank you for the suggestion, that you're willing to go that next mile for.
yeah.
Right? And help them grow and be further. So I would almost rather have somebody not ask if they're not going to follow up than, and
Get to see that side of them that you really didn't want to say, that they're not following up.
It isn't that, you're going to go, hey, I look, down on that person or whatever, but I'm probably going to, if I had A and B, I'm going to put more effort
Right.
into developing the person that's willing to put effort in developing themselves.
And it's not free from our perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right? Having somebody ask of you, you know, that means you have to find another piece of time.
Yeah.
Another bit of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you, so a lot of times, in my coaching, one of the things I find is that just because somebody has these amazing technical skills and they're really good at what they do, they get promoted and all of a sudden they were an individual contributor and now they have 10 people that they have to lead.
I resemble that remark. Right? Wasn't that what we all did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I come in a year later when they're getting ready to fire them and they're like, fix them, but they didn't set them up for success.
Sure, yeah.
How do you mitigate that? Like, anybody listening to this, a leader listening to this, I want you to talk about that because I'm sure you've experienced this, you've been in it, and how do you mitigate that?
I think now, more than 20 years ago, leadership can be a bit more incremental. Right? I like team lead rather than manager right away.
Right.
Right? So you may not have the direct reporting, or you may have a little nurtured reporting going on. So a bit more, yes, I went right into the deep end, right?
Yeah.
When it was, okay, you're a manager, good luck, bye. And reporting to, I think, an SVP at the time, right? So very, very strange. But for most of my people who are transitioning into leadership, they're going more of a, okay, now I'm a team lead, right? Now I've got maybe 2 teams, and I'm a manager, and I've got reporting lines. So it tends to be a bit more incremental, and that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And then you're doing reviews together, right? You're okay. What do you have on this person? Okay, have you thought about that? How are you going to grow that person in that area? At least in the world I live in right now, it's much easier. If you're in a startup, it's the world is different.
Yeah. Keith, you had a pretty high performing team.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Yeah, you got lucky. Was that it? Talk to us about that.
I got surrounded by a lot of good people, right? And that were self-motivated and wanted to do the right things. We all got along. It's hard to find teams like that, right? And when you find them, do everything you can to support them.
Yeah.
Right. And because that team's not going to stick around together that long, because if you have really good people, they should be getting promoted. That team should break up because those people are moving up. And it's been, a lot of my team has, like, now when you go back, are exceeding where I'm at in my career and doing great things for themselves. And it's good to see that. But I think the biggest thing in that is when you're a leader, take everybody for what they are, right? And don't try to make everybody the same, right? My team was very different, and dealing with them were very different. And so instead of getting upset that, one of my directs didn't have this skill set, I looked at, they had these skill sets,
right?
And used those, right?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to treat them all the same and expecting them all to perform, at the same at different things. And if you get a team that complements each other, then you get a really well-oiled team.
Yeah.
And I think we had that.
And having a technical growth path as well. Not everybody wants to lead people, right? They want to move up. They want to feel that they're growing themselves, but they don't necessarily have to lead people, especially if they're a great software engineer.
Yeah.
Be a great software engineer forever.
I've had that experience where I took someone that was really technically capable, put them into a managerial role. The first time, really, they had to performance manage somebody out, right, of the role. They just weren't doing it, and they had to go through actually letting that person go. They came and said, I don't want to do this. It's not me. Yeah. Right? And then they were honest about it. And so we transitioned that person into more of a technical leadership role instead of it, a people management role.
Yeah.
And that worked out much better. And really, it was my mistake for putting that person in that. And I have to be honest with that. I needed someone in that role, and I kind of talked them into it.
Yeah.
Right? And that was probably not the right thing to do. Yeah. Right? And we got and corrected that, and that person flourished in more of a technical role than a people role. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is when you look at software developers or, any other kind of skill set, if they're a really good individual performer, right, you still need to look whether that person wants to manage people, or do they just want to get recognized for being good at their job, and can you find another way to do that, right? I noticed a lot of people said, well, if I don't go into management, then I can never move up,
Yeah.
right? And we got to find ways to use people that don't want to manage people but have really good skill sets and find ways to reward them. And maybe it's a unique role, or maybe it's, I've seen where, you went from in engineering from principals to architects to senior architects.
Right.
So you can still reward those people and they don't feel like they hit a ceiling and that's all they're ever going to get in their career.
And just to completely go against what you just said, sometimes the reluctant leader is the best leader.
Oh, I agreed. If you get the right person.
If you get the right
Yeah.
person,
But I agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel, so in coaching, I've had people tell me that because their friends are moving up and because their friends are going to different companies and leaving and all this, they feel this pressure to move up and to do, to be better. And maybe they've been at this job for 10 years and they feel societal pressure that they need to do it because their friends are doing it. But to that, I would go back to question, do you like what you do? Do you see yourself leading people? And if you don't, then there's nothing wrong. There's so much stigma around, like you said, Keith. If you're not leading people and you're not a manager, then you're not going anywhere in your career. And that is not true.
What are we doing it for?
Right.
So
right.
Are your kids happy? Are you getting them to college? Are you doing the next thing? I know we want our own personal growth as well, of course.
Right.
But I think if you take a step back and take a look, right? And I certainly don't care about somebody else doing well. That's wonderful.
Right.
I'll make them pay for dinner. Again, Keith.
But I also think there is something to be said, and I've had this conversation with people before. I like my job.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I don't want to do anything else, and that's a completely okay thing to do. If you're lucky enough to find a job that you like or a role that you like, you shouldn't feel pressured to move. Right? I don't think you should quit growing. You can grow within that role and learn and get better. But you shouldn't be pressured into going into a position that you don't want.
Yeah.
Or you don't think you're going to be happy in.
Yeah.
Unless you're a dancer, you're losing your hair. They give it up. It's time to go.
Spencer was a dancer, and he's lost a lot of it.
I just didn't shave it this
Most
week.
of it, he didn't shave this week. Were you preparing for the podcast? Or something?
Just been very busy.
It's just very busy, yeah. No, I totally agree with all of that because I usually say, if you're happy where you're at, there's nothing wrong with it. Now, I thought what I did 14 years ago that I'll always do that because I love taking care of people and I was so happy. And then I found something else and I'm like, man, I'm good at this. I love doing this.
People.
I do, but in a different way, right? But I found out I love coaching more than I love doing anything else. And then I enjoy that. So if you love what you're doing, just keep doing it. We just get so pressured by our friends and society. We feel we have to go to the next level. And it's not
I think you probably have two people here who don't. Right? I don't think either of us.
You guys, I don't think you're not like that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Which is pretty awesome, right? That's what I want to hear you tell people, that it's okay to stay where you're at, but just grow and continue to improve
whatever you're
where
going to do,
you're
if
at.
you're going to grow or stay, don't worry about what somebody else has done.
Right. Focus on what you're doing. Get better at what you are doing every day. Yeah. So for the two of you, what attributes do you think it takes to make a really good leader? We'll start with Keith.
Oh, that's a tough one because I think a mix of attributes in a lot of different ways can make many different leaders, right? But I think, and this is probably the toughest one, I think, for a lot of leaders, is just having some humility into your own skills, right? Because if you're in a leadership position, you probably had success. That's easy to think that as you keep going up the ladder that you're always right.
Yeah.
Right? Because you might have been right lower in there, and that's why you got promoted. And so just have some humility in that you might not always be right. And I think that comes with a little bit with age and experience.
Yeah.
You start to look around and say, there's a lot of things I don't know. And when I was in my 20s, I thought I knew everything. I think all 20-year-olds do, right?
Yeah.
And then you get older and you realize how little you really know and how much you can tap into other people. So I think that's it. I think don't forget that your group isn't successful because of you. You're successful because of your group.
I love that.
If you don't have good people that work for you as a leader, you're not going to be successful. right?
Right.
And so you should be doing everything to clear the. They shouldn't be doing everything to make your life easier. You should be doing everything to make their life easier.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times people forget that, especially young leaders.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's cheesy to say servant leadership, right? Because everyone
Yeah.
says it now, but
Yeah.
it's super true.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. It's how can I help you? What can I do to break down your
Right.
barriers? And we still have to strategize.
Yeah.
Right.
We still
Right.
have to look at the big picture, get as much information as we can, push it back in areas because it's just bubbling out the sides, right? But we still have to look at that and go, okay, how do we best organize? How do we best put our resources where they have to be to achieve those goals? But at the same time, you've got to be listening, and getting that
Yeah.
information because you can't see it all, right? You can't
Yeah.
possibly see it.
So I use both of you in my coaching. There's something you had said to me, and you probably don't remember a while
Send it
back.
in voice.
You had said to me that the way you position yourself, you're a buffer between all the politics that goes on up here and your people, so that they can focus and they can function and do their jobs. So you've always been that way, that buffer. They don't know all the noise that's happening up here. They just get to focus on their work because as a leader, that's your job to absorb that and disseminate it in a manner that it doesn't
with
overwhelm.
balance, right?
With
And that's what I
balance,
said.
yeah.
Sometimes they need to know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And those are the times. But when you know they don't need to know, it's just a distraction and there's no need for
Right.
them to worry about it. There's no need to put it on their plate. But in some cases, you got to be honest with them and say, this is what's going on in the organization. 'Cause
Right.
It has
Right.
context to what they're doing maybe on a project or what's going on.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with that. That's part of, making their lives a little easier so they can get some stuff done.
And it goes
Yeah.
upwards as well. When we sort of say politics and noise, I'll take a little bit to that because the executive leadership team is trying to understand what's happening
Yeah.
across a broader spectrum of the business.
Right.
Right. And so they're also trying to understand it. So you're not filtering, but you're trying to give the right level of detail up
Yeah.
and the right level of detail down. And as I said earlier about startup, where the whole speedboat just moves, right? Well, you
Yeah.
may not want to do that with 300 developers, right? You have to buffer that and not move
Yeah.
it quite so quickly. Make very succinct decisions about when you are going to change direction. And that's that buffer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That filter.
Yeah. But for you, Spencer, I was saying I use both of you as analogies in my coaching. You know exactly what your values are and you know exactly what you stand for. And you are, when it comes to leading people,
gonna start
you are that
singing.
servant leader.
I'm proud to
Yeah.
be an American. Really oh, those were the values you were talking about. No.
But you always maintain a positive attitude. I have
Yes.
I have yet to see you being mad or upset or yelling. Like you always maintain
Although
a
it
positive
can happen.
attitude. Yeah.
But it is
I
important.
have seen it.
Could happen. But it's important to have fun, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to come to work and be sad about I put my sock on, I go to work. Right?
Yeah.
We want to have this is our life.
Yeah.
It's a huge chunk of our life is our work
Right.
day. And so I like to have fun. I like to have a good time. And I like to allow the organization to have a good time.
Yeah.
As long as we can get the work done. That's
Yeah.
the key. Certainly, I don't see a reason for stuffiness for the sake of stuffiness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's why.
You only stuff when you drink tea. After.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't know too many Americans that have tea at 3 o'clock, so you might want to sing a different song.
I do like a nice cup of tea at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
How you sing that song while you're having tea? Like, proud to be American.
Yeah.
You guys have
So-
to rail to me.
To get back on a little bit, and I think
Yeah.
Spencer's a really good example of this, is the one thing we used to talk about with my team when we were going through, the people in our organization, when we were kind of doing reviews, the one thing we asked, would you want to sit next to this person and work with this person 40 hours a week?
Right.
Right? Because
Wow.
your team
Yeah.
has to.
Yeah.
Right? And so part of that, like you could say one person can ruin someone's day, right? Can ruin ruin their job, can ruin their work. So if you have that bad apple, right, you should, if you should try to change that behavior. And if you can't change that behavior, you might get a positive by by removing. And I think it's important to realize that, right? I've heard the term brilliant jerk, right? Where you have a really high performing employee, but is a jerk,
Yeah.
right? And people tend to keep them around because they are brilliant,
Yeah.
but they can make other people's lives around them really rough, right? And so, like, that's what I say with Spencer, you always knew no matter what was going on, you were going to get some lightheartedness coming in,
Yeah.
which would ease tension,
Yeah.
right? And those are the type of,
You know the British joke at funerals, right? It's very common.
yeah.
I can get in trouble for that here, though. Yeah.
Better be joking at my funeral.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
Okay, dancing and singing
No,
too.
you're going to go much longer than me. You kidding me?
Yeah. So I wanna come back to our friendship and talking to people about that, like anybody listening to this, because I think it's important in the workplace to cultivate that. We spend so much time in the workplace, all of our waking moments in the workplace. And the way we cultivate a friendship was we went to lunch, right? And I started inviting you all at Christmas time at my house.
We would go for coffee.
We would go for Seriously. We do. He would say for coffee. I'm like, okay, let's go. Yeah, that's
Go
what
for
it was,
coffee,
right?
yeah.
Go for coffee. Yeah.
Now they've closed that Starbucks. Can't go there anymore.
Yeah. But I think it is so important. I this is I want to go back to this and use this as closing because I think it's so important to build those relationships. It's 14 years later and we're still friends. We still go to dinners and we still enjoy each other and that's the way we get through corporate America.
Wait, isn't your birthday
we build
coming
the
up?
best. My birthday's coming up. Yeah, we have to go.
Yeah,
we have to
see.
go
I don't celebrate your birthday. I celebrate Sally is Not Perfect Day, which is June 15th.
He does.
Oh, he's got that nailed down.
He forgets his name someday, but he doesn't forget Sally is not perfect. I am perfect. I'm perfectly imperfect. Wait.
Yes, we created a holiday that we celebrate when Sally worked with us because she made a mistake one day and she couldn't believe she made a mistake because she's a perfectionist. And so we coined it, Sally is Not Perfect.
Excellent.
That's right.
Put it on the calendar and celebrate it.
And he still has it on his calendar to this day.
Wow.
It's still on
like
his calendar. He's very dedicated when it comes to celebrating things that's painful for people.
I got to be honest with you. I have no idea. I have no idea what your birthday is. I know Sally's Not Perfect Day.
Perfect day. I love it. I love it. So is there anything you guys want to talk about that I didn't ask question about or some that you want to share before we wrap up?
No, a shout out to the family. Hi, Rachel, Zoe, Zach, and Oz. Got to do that, right? And doing a Christmas thing this year? We're doing it?
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay.
We're doing a Christmas. Keith says like Christmas. My Christmas tree is already up.
Yeah,
He
I'm kind of a
cringes. Look,
Christmas
he's
Grinch.
cringe.
Yeah, you're gonna make me wear the.
We always
you're
get
gonna
together
make me
and
wear the
Grinch it
Santa
out.
hat and take that big picture.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is have a drink and eat some food.
It's so painful for him. It's just about getting him to do things that are painful.
I'll bring scones. It'd be great.
See.
Yeah, you eat scones.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
yes,
the
let's
scones
do
are
it.
great. That's
Scones
kind
are
of
great. Scones are great. We are definitely doing it. Keith, how about you? Any closing comments?
None.
Yeah.
No, just.
Thank you
we
so
talked about
much.
it,
We
yeah.
talked about it all. This was really good. See, Keith, it wasn't that painful.
Sort of.
Or other than
Was it
I
painful,
didn't get
Spencer?
lunch for this, but yeah, that was
Yeah.
painful. No, that was lovely. I enjoyed it.
Well, after I did this, I'm like, oh, I should have put you guys last, and then we would have gone to lunch, and I didn't think about that.
See?
I couldn't switch after I
Well,
did
lunch
it.
at 10:30 today.
Oh, no, but
Getting prepared for this a little early. Yeah.
All
Oh
right.
my gosh, I heard you guys. This is really good. Thank you so much.
Enjoyed it so much. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Sal.
yes. And with that, it's a wrap.
Thank you for tuning in to the Sally Allen podcast, where we give voice to stories of resilience. Until next time, this is Sally Allen. Remember that every setback is a setup for a comeback. And remember, if you like this podcast, the only way we can get it out is if you like, subscribe, and share.